Well, power has been restored in all areas affected by outages in Cape Town. Many residents were without electricity since around 7 last night. Officials say this was due to damaged lines caused by a fire. Lindsay Dentlinger spoke to residents in many businesses that felt the pinch. She joins us now live for an update. So, Lindsay, what are officials saying about this damaged line?
Well, we don't know the cause of it, Shahan, but it's suspected that it's general wear and tear. It's an overhead line along the N1 that leads into the city and feeds most of the CBD and most of the city bowl. And that just snapped last night and caused this huge veld fire. And of course, that also delayed them being able to access the area to be able to fix what was wrong, because they first had to extinguish that blaze. And so officials have been working through the night. The first parts of the city were restored at around 10 o'clock this morning. But of course, it's unprecedented that Cape Town residents have to make do without electricity for so long. Generally just used to about 2.5 hours of load shedding when Eskom does institute those rolling blackouts. And so it did cause quite a bit of upheaval, particularly here in the CBD where I am right now, given that many businesses were unable to operate until around 3:15 this afternoon. We saw the other side of the city. It came back in parts, finally getting their electricity restored. But let's just take a listen to what the mayor told me earlier today when I met with him at the substation where that cable went down.
It will be properly investigated in the days ahead. At the moment, the focus is just on getting things up and running again. But just next to us here are hundreds of meters of burnt felt, and there was a massive fire last night. So that also doesn't help with the investigation, because it means that there's still smoke, there's still a lot of hot wood and coals around. So it's tough to investigate exactly what happened. So that'll take some days, and we won't rule out anything. We'll check if there's potential vandalism or whether it is just a very unfortunate fault. But at the moment, the focus must be on leaving that investigation for tomorrow and the days ahead and getting the power up and running.
Lindsay, you mentioned that businesses were impacted on from last night up until 3 this afternoon. What are they saying, some of the business owners?
Well, the mayor himself told me that he was inundated by calls, particularly from hotels in the city when that power went out. Of course, no warning. There can be no warning when something like that happens. But you can imagine how desperate hotel owners here in the city are to get business back through their doors. And then no sooner does that happen, they don't have explanations for their guests as to why the city has been thrust into darkness. And it's not only no electricity, the knock-on effects of that overnight was water pumps being able to feed guests. A whole host of things obviously got triggered by the fact that there was no electricity. I also spoke to a business owner of a computer shop earlier this afternoon, where many of the shops in these streets were staying open in absolute darkness, doing what little trade they could without electricity, and just remaining hopeful throughout the day that the power would be restored. Here's one of those a technician from a computer shop I spoke to about what impact it had on their business today.
At like 9 o'clock this morning, there's been no electricity since then. We've just been waiting, been trying to keep track on what's going on Twitter. So it's really been affecting us negatively. Obviously, we've had like very little customers in the store today. Very difficult for us to trade. We're just waiting for the power to come back on and hoping that it will be soon.
Yeah, and it has happened, right? The power is on. So what's the situation now?
Well, we understand that all the parts of the city that were impacted by last night's outage has been restored. As I said, the first parts to have been restored today were on the east sides of the city, areas like Woodstock, the Gardens, Oranjezegt, Vredehoek, those residential areas, and parts of the CBD got their power back at around just after 10 o'clock this morning. But obviously it took a little bit longer to get the rest back, because it wasn't just about a snapped cable. It was the knock-on effects of what that did. It damaged many transformers. It caused the huge surge of electricity into the city. And so it was a collaborative effort by Eskom and the city, each of them repairing what they are responsible for. And then around 3:15 this afternoon, the other side of the CBD where I was, the power came back on while we were there. And as we moved along the Atlantic seaboard, it started to come back in phases. So for now, we understand that all the parts of the city that were impacted by last night's outage has been restored. And the mayor has sent this message, Shahan, to the residents of Cape Town for their patience in dealing with what was, for some people, 15 hours without electricity.
I'm greatly relieved to hear that power has been restored to all areas. I'm so grateful to residents for showing patience and forbearance through this day and last night, and immensely grateful to the city engineering and technical teams who have been working 24 hours without any sleep and under immense pressure to get this up and running after this unprecedented break. I just owe them a debt of gratitude. So it's great relief that this is over and power has been restored to all areas, and I thank residents for their patience.